the 11th of May 2022. I'm Dana. Welcome, everybody, to the show that never ends. So glad you could attend. I'm Dana Durnford. I'm also known as the Nuclear Proctologist.org, and you can call in or call me anytime at 709-589-4406. 709-589-4406. I wasn't supposed to do a show tonight. I wasn't feeling up to par. Hey, whatever. We're doing the show. That's all that matters. The nuclear industry deserves at least one person coming out and pummeling them each day. We're going to talk about 4 real-life monsters and Reactor 4. We got a poll tonight. Was it evil for journalists to fake videos being on top of Fukushima Reactor 4? And we have a resounding yes, it is evil. So what we're talking about is these 4 so-called journalists. ABC Cecilia Vega, which is currently positioned at the White House press room, faked being in a fuel pool on a building that doesn't exist. Does that not concern the entire planet? We expect stuff like that from CNN. BBC Rupert Wingfield-Hayes also done it at Reactor 3, faked it being on Reactor 3 and 4. And CBS Seth Doane, which is a senator's son, by the way, also faked it. There was many journalists that faked this. To get you up to speed, we're going to play this clip here. So the real building is over there. This is not, what they're doing is unequivocally evil, to say the least. So let's play the clip for you.
Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4. The whole of this building was blown apart by a huge explosion.
Now that's BBC Rupert Wingfield-Hayes. He's obviously not on top of the building to the left.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011.
Of the decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4.
At the end of our tour, we were checked for radiation exposure. In 4 hours, I received the equivalent of less than a chest x-ray.
1,500 highly radioactive fuel rods inside this pool. They've got to move them outside of this reactor.
Okay, and so this is the definition of evil. By the way, this is a fake picture. There's nothing you can do at Reactor 4. It's a nuclear meltdown. And you see people in paper suits pretending they're most likely photoshopped, and they're pretending they're, if not, they would have died that day, pretending they're going to work at Reactor 4. This is absurdness. The industry is completely out of control. So, to kind of wrap your mind around it, this was a high quality picture. And so the pictures I'm going to show you next were extrapolated from this particular picture. We've never been able to zoom in on Reactor 4 before. There's the stump of Reactor 3. This is Reactor 2. And these are all the remains of Reactor 2, rather. And this is the remains of Reactor 1. Behind Reactor 4 is the common spent fuel pool. It actually was destroyed. So I was able to zoom in, so you won't see these pictures anywhere else on the entire planet. This is the pump house that's on the seaside of the buildings. And you can see the debris on the roof of it. They didn't clean that up for obvious reasons, it's lethal doses. So let's step back for a second. Now this is a cement pump truck. You can't pump water with a cement pump truck, by the way. They brought that in to deceive the population of the entire planet. The same reason that these people are pretending they're on top of a building that no longer exists. So they're pretending they're at the very top of the building looking down on a pool. And what the nuclear industry concocted was they tore the building down with cranes and killed a bunch of homeless people because no nuclear scientists ever went there. This was built off-site. This is just a frame. And what you're seeing is panels. This is all done by cranes. So when you zoom in on it, you start to realize there's no building, there's no integrity. The building is completely razed all the way to the ground. You can see the debris in the back corner. And so when you analyze what's going on here, you realize there's incredible deception. So then you need to ask yourself, why are they creating this deception? Now, the buildings don't physically touch each other. And all they're doing is going to put a panel on the building there. And once they put the panel on the building, then they're going to pretend it looks like that over there. But it actually looks like this. And so that's unforgivable that they're doing this. And they're not doing this because they're bored. They're doing this because they don't want you to appreciate how much danger you're now in. They don't want you to understand the harm that's coming your way. So it's 100% lunatic and evil industry. Again, you can see the buildings don't physically touch each other. There's only a stump left, and you can see the holes in it, which means in order for the building to be destroyed almost at ground level that much meant that the rest of the building is completely dysfunctional. So there's no interior. They just put panels on the buildings. This is just a single panel, and you lay it in with a crane, and it hangs with gravity. They're very heavy panels. It was constructed off-site and then brought in. But then officially, they want you to believe that this is what it looks like now, magically. So when a fuel pool no longer exists, even if you did build a fuel pool there, it's not the original fuel pool. But because it's a 40-year-old reactor that had decades of reactor cores stored in the pools, there's over 70 of these plants in America, by the way, which is probably where they shot that footage. The fuel pool, you got to be way above it to look down on the fuel pool like these people are claiming to do. They're claiming to be able to look down on the fuel pool. And so when the fuel pool actually would extend even above what you see there. So this is ground level, for goodness sakes. There is nothing left of the building. So then the question, of course, is why would they? So you can see those big tubes, ventilation tubes. And so that's the idea of what they've done here, because it has the same connotations, right? So the claim that it looks like that is because they're poisoning everybody worldwide. It's an insidious plan, and the nuclear industry has lost, well, it never did have a moral compass, but it has lost complete credibility at this stage. So this cement truck was brought in to trick you into thinking that they had it under control, because the reason of the cement truck was if the fuel pools don't get constant water, then if the rods become exposed to air, they'll catch fire at around 1800 degrees. That will cause the fuel pellets, the plutonium and uranium pellets inside the rods, to start burning, and they'll burn at around 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures into a plasma. So this is original footage, by the way, of a 190-foot building. So for the media to pretend that the pool is perfect, that was 2013. And the significance of that is you had multiple reactors melted down around it on top of that. There was zero possibility that you could have been in a building, let alone a fuel pool that doesn't exist. Again, the pillars you're looking at there, you can actually turn a SUV around on them because they're that big. This is a 190-foot building, a 19-story building. This is lethal doses till the end of the human experience. But to appreciate the actual carnage of the original detonation, you can see here it's completely destroyed. And so to pretend that it actually is intact, this is actually unequivocally crimes against humanity, what we're talking about. They have an amazing amount of documentation. So what they done was they built it off-site, they brought it in, they got some homeless people that they murdered doing this, and victims of society, the immigrants who don't speak the language. They assembled it with cranes, and then they would put their panels on it and claim that it was intact. It's unforgivable to do something like this. The industry needs to be destroyed like a rabid animal. It has no right to exist. It's only doing this because it's desperate to hide the fact that it kills the oceans and has poisoned the entire planet. Every human on this planet, every animal, every bird, every insect, every species on this planet has been permanently affected and in an extremely bad way. So when you zoom in on this reactor, the back of the building, or the ocean side of the building, because this is the pump house right here, which you can see has never been cleaned up. But look at all this debris hanging out of the back of the building. Now, this is lethal doses by the kilogram, just walking past it. There's zero possibility somebody's going to be inside of the structure. The structure was built specifically to deceive you. Same as this picture here, it's 100% to deceive you. They claim they're burning 7,000 of these suits each day. There's nothing for 7,000 people to do at this site. There's lethal doses everywhere. Pretending that they're walking out of a melter reactor I have to assume that this is Photoshop. I can't imagine this is real because this is lethal doses. And these people are not portraying that they're harmed. Now, this was a 190-foot building. They're at ground level, so look at the carnage all the way to ground level. There's zero possibility you're going to stand up there without dying that day or that hour. Zero possibility. You see these steel plates on the ground? This is so the homeless don't die right away. I think it's despicable that they done that. And that's being polite. You don't need it. I shouldn't say I think it's despicable. It is despicable that the nuclear industry has portrayed this. And I'm talking the entire nuclear industry has sat in silence or help perpetrate the lie itself. Now, in this particular shot, you can see the actual height of the remains of the building, but you can see the destruction is all the way to the ground. So this 100% unequivocally was about deceiving the population. Whoever this poor victim is, it's a serious dose to be in that environment. Ah, yes. Now, that's yellow piece right there would have been the cover of the reactor. This piece here is the top part of the reactor. But look at the debris right there, and of course the holes right there. But wrap your mind around this debris field you're looking at. That's the guts of the building. So they needed to create a cover story. And that's where they brought in these people right here. They should be tried for crimes against humanity. And it's unbelievable that they had portrayed or had created this depiction. Now, there's another depiction of Reactor 4. It's Reactor 3 right there. The yellowish cream color building down there was a Kevlar sarcophagus on Reactor 1. After 5 years, they had to remove that because, and so after 5 years, they removed the cover of Reactor building because the cover itself is so radioactive that if you took a square foot of it and brought it to the New York subway, everybody who walked past it for 1,000 years would die that day. Again, these pictures, because this is 11 years ago, these pictures, but when you zoom in on it, it's not the clearest, but you're able to extrapolate a lot of documentation from this kind of stuff. And remember, this was a 190-foot building. So the pools were at the very top of the building, and the top of the building is completely destroyed. I also have 6 videos in my playlist of the official pictures that they released. And when they released those pictures, allegedly there was 7,000 people working at the site at that time. And if you go, and I put links to the pictures also, but I walk you through all those pictures in a 6 video presentations. It's destroyed on the backside, away from the ocean, all the way to the ground. See that? It's all the way to the ground. So these pictures is after they, and that part up there is the bottom part of the reactor. The top part of the reactor should show up. Now when they're changing the fuel in the reactors, they don't take all the fuel out of the reactor. They take a large chunk of it, which meant the reactor wasn't empty, which meant the reactor detonated too. But you can see the incredible destruction of the interior guts of the building are spilled out. And there can be no mistake in what I'm showing you. There is no building left. So for the media to pretend that it is, how do we address that? That has to be addressed. That's not acceptable under any circumstances to pretend that the building... Now again, this is a clearer picture. You can see all the way to the ground, the building is completely gutted. There is nothing functional, period. But this is a nuclear reactor. It had 4 decades of reactor cores stored in the pools, the 2 pools, because they don't have a repository anywhere on the planet. And so the fuel pool is there and over there. They're actually gone. The yellow cap you see in there is this piece right here. Let me give you a complete comprehension of it. That piece there is this piece right here, and the piece behind it right there is that piece right here, which is where the assemblies were for the fuel. And so they have decades of reactor cores stored at the top of the building that don't exist anymore, right? Because it should be all the way up there. So the crazy betrayal is real. Again, you can see all the way to the ground of Reactor 4. This is where they started to build a sarcophagus around Reactor 1. The next one to it is Reactor 2. And then the destroyed one you've seen over there is what's left of Reactor 3. Again, you can see all the way to the ground on the back side. I have some pictures coming up with all 4 sides of the reactors in it for you. But I mean, we can't have a future by pretending. And now, the poll tonight is, should they be... should they get life in jail was one of the options. Most people missed it. Not that it matters. I gave you 2 right options in this video. Was it evil for the journalist to fake the video, being on top of Fukushima Reactor 4? And most people, because I don't usually give you another option, and so most people, hi everybody. Most people, I was trying to highlight this, I guess you can't. They should get life in jail. I put that there. That's the right answer, and yes is the right answer. So it doesn't matter which one you chose. As long as you didn't choose no. The stunning details extrapolated from these older original pictures. There can be no mistaking that the building doesn't exist anymore. If people say, no, I think the fuel pool is still there, well, you're not being very honest. And the world is a better place without you on it. Okay, so this is the backside of Reactor 4. You can see the destruction where my finger is pointing right there. Now remember, you got Reactor 3 had melted down, and the common spent fuel pool was destroyed. Behind it was behind Reactor 4. This stack here is 25 sieverts an hour. It's a lethal dose to be anywhere near just a stack. So how radioactive is the destroyed buildings? And these fake pictures, that really bugs me that they done that. But certainly they faked these too, see? It means the nuclear industry doesn't have a right to exist. They're going to exterminate you. They are exterminating you. And you need to make a stand for your friends, for your families, for the future generations, for your loved ones, and for yourself. You need to make a stand. You need to pick a side. Are you going to be on the side of evil? Sitting in silence is not an option. Let me remind you. I've been sick all evening and all night, and I really wanted to do the show tonight, but I had a headache. I just couldn't fathom sitting here and doing a show tonight. I was just... And look at me. I'm here because it's got to get done. This is the remains of Reactor 4. You see the debris pile up on the ground? They don't clean that up, but they claim that inside of this is just paneling, right? This is paneling on top. Now they're going to put paneling around all of this to hide it from you. So the average person doesn't understand the danger where now all species and humanity is in. Excuse me. Show you an overwhelming amount of documentation in the hopes that the world will come to its senses. These people that are faking it should be prosecuted. They should go to jail for the rest of their natural lives, and they probably should get the death sentence for what they done. These are monsters and serial killers we're talking about. They embody the very essence of evil. The betrayal is unbelievable, and it's unforgivable, it's untenable. So they put a structure around the building, but on the backside of the building, you can see all of the debris. You can see there's no integrity to the building because there's no integrity to this building. The building physically is just... Now, we're worried every time there's an earthquake. We're worried that it'll start a chain reaction again. And you should be worried, and you're supposed to be worried, and you need to worry about this. This is not a game, and there's nobody on the planet, and I mean that, there's nobody anywhere on the entire planet is going to show you what I'm showing you. There is 0 people on the planet that is going to put all this documentation together. So this is what it looked like. Now you see all the people there? That's actually just me. Each one of those people or depictions of people is me in the front of a green screen. So no 2 victims there you see are the same. And so they're all moving independent. There's no copying and paste there. And the discoloring you're seeing there is because I replicated myself 2 at a time. I was able to import 2 into the shot, and then I would shoot it again with another 2 people. So that took an entire day to dress in my paper suit with different hats on. See that? I actually went out and found hard hats, got in front of a green screen, shot each one of them, and then sat there and inserted myself. And the idea is it's a line of dead people going in to die, because that's all you can do. Once you stand there, you will die that day. It's a stupid amount of work in desperation that the world will come to its senses. And the world didn't come to its senses, because much more powerful lawyers...
Private standing is on top of what used to be...
That's Rupert Wingfield-Hayes. Now, you can't stand on top of a reactor. Even if you did build a structure there, you couldn't stand there because it's a lethal dose. These are multiple reactor cores in each building that have melted down. This really tells the story because you can just see the little stump. But remember what I showed you earlier, the different directions. So that debris over there, if you took a kilogram of that and put it in a McDonald's, you would kill everybody in McDonald's in 20 minutes. And you can fill up McDonald's every 20 minutes with hundreds of people for 1 million years, and that kilogram of debris there would kill them. It's lethal on a scale that is unimaginable to the average person. But you better start imagining it, and you better start acknowledging it, and you better start trying to figure out ways to protect you and your friends and your families and your loved ones and the 8 million species from this insidious betrayal that we're explaining for everybody tonight. This is the back of the building. You can see all the debris there. You'll never see those pictures anywhere else. That was a slip up. I was able to zoom in on the pictures. It was very rare to get a high quality picture from the media. This picture here is 4 sides of Reactor 4. That's all 4 sides of it. So it's destroyed unequivocally on all 4 sides. And it's a lethal dose there. And then to have these people pretending, those medias pretending that they're inside of a building that no longer exists, should scare the living daylights out of you. Should absolutely unequivocally terrify you. Should hypnotize you. You should be searching for answers, and you should be calling for justice. You should be calling for prosecutions of those 4 people and the rest of them that depicted that deception. Report hoax. Irresponsible rumors claim Fukushima spent fuel pool exploded. This is October 2012, a year and a half later. So the fuel pools are up there. Right at the top of each of the buildings. So is it irresponsible to claim the fuel pools exploded when they don't even exist anymore? I think it's stunning that they lied to the entire population. And if they're willing to do that, what else are they willing to do? If you're not going to hold them accountable for that, what's the point of a justice system? What's the point of judges? What's the point of prosecutors? What's the point of constitutions or Magna Cartas or bills of rights? What's the point of even having a society? You can't have a society when you're going to be abused by the people that you put your trust in, your medias. By the way, that's the original footage of Reactor 4 and Reactor 3. And Rupert Wingfield-Hayes from BBC also claimed he was on top of Reactor 3. We'll show you that coming up in a bit. Again, how can you deny what I'm telling you and explaining to you and showing to you? How can you turn away from this documentation, information? How does that actually work? Explosion at Fukushima Unit 1, 3, and 4 may have caused the inventory, the decades of reactor cores, to be lost from the spent fuel pool. Well, yeah, the fuel pools were these depictions right there and over there. It's 100% loss. And so what they're trying to do is to trick you and make you complacent and drop your guards and consume the food from the nuclear wasteland and get sick and die. And you'll always see these types of pictures where people stood around in paper suits. And of course, TEPCO says they burned 7,000 of these suits each day. A paper suit can't protect you from anything, let alone a nuclear meltdown. The gamma shines, the X-rays, the neutron bursts. It's ludicrous. It's absolutely unequivocally ludicrous. So these were probably homeless people that were brought in, another so-called Fukushima 50 crew. They murdered hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of homeless people, and there was no one who stood tall for them. There was no one who said this is wrong, except for right here. This is the official picture of a building that doesn't exist. This is official pictures to the right of a building that don't exist. That's not what we wanted. Let's play this clip.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011, leading to the country's worst nuclear disaster.
Should this be a crime? And if not, why? Should the entire planet be ashamed of themselves that they sat in silence and why this happened? Yes, of course. Is the population able to hold them accountable 11 years later? Of course they can. All they got to do, and the evidence that I'm providing to you, you can take them to court and win the case on top of that. Okay, so this is how they pulled off the deception. I'm going to bring in, just give me a second. I'll bring in the 4 perps that we're talking about tonight. There's many more of these Fukushima perps. We're going to bring in these 4 to give you another, because you see him with a paper suit and a hat on. It doesn't really do it justice, right? Here we go. So you have Seth Doane, Doane. He's an actual senator's son. He works for PBS and CBS. You have Rupert Wingfield-Hayes, who works for BBC. Notice they put the young picture of him there when he's actually 50 years old, not 25. You have Coren from CNN, who murdered your loved ones. These are serial killers. These are mass murderers. And you have Cecilia Vega from ABC Australia. She's actually an American. These are the four monsters. These are real-life monsters. These are serial killers. These are serial killers who have robbed you of your future, who have robbed your children and your nephews and loved ones of their futures. These are the epitome of evil. Let me play the clip again.
Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4. The whole of this building was blown apart by a huge explosion.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011.
Of the decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4.
At the end of our tour, we were checked for radiation exposure. In 4 hours, I received the equivalent of less than a chest x-ray.
1,500 highly radioactive fuel rods inside this pool. They've got to move them outside of this reactor.
I think they should take them to the reactors. And I think Seth Doane should get 1,000 x-rays a day for saying that he got less than a chest x-ray. Here's what David Suzuki said about Reactor 4.
3 out of the 4 plants were destroyed in the earthquake and in the tsunami. The 4th one has been so badly damaged that the fear is if there's another earthquake of a 7 or above, that building will go, and then all hell breaks loose. I have seen a paper which says that if, in fact, the 4th plant goes under an earthquake and those rods are exposed, it's bye-bye Japan, and everybody on the west coast of North America should evacuate. Now, if that isn't terrifying, I don't know what.
Okay, so he said, if Reactor 4 goes, and it's gone, it's bye-bye Japan, not because it's going to blow up, but because of the radioactive fallout, and you should evacuate the coastline in North America because of the radioactive fallout, and you should evacuate the coastline in North America. Arnie Gunnarsson, of course, sold us out. Let me see what we got here.
The Unit 4 was damaged twice. It was
Now, you see Fair Winds, that's where the fuel pool is supposed to be.
damaged by all of the earthquakes that occurred, and it was also damaged by a series of explosions over the first week or two of the accident. So the building is structurally weakened. Now, Tokyo Electric's acknowledged that. They went in May and June of last year. This is more than a year ago, and put an enormous number of extra structural supports directly under the fuel pool to keep the bottom of the pool from breaking through.
So he just said that TEPCO went in and put supports under the fuel pool of Reactor 4 when Reactor 4 fuel pool doesn't even exist. That was Arnie Gunnarsson. It's absurd, yeah?
Over structurally weakened. Now, Tokyo Electric's acknowledged that. They went in May and June of last year. This is more than a year ago, and put an enormous number of extra structural supports directly under the fuel pool.
This is Arnie Gunnarsson, who should spend the rest of his life in jail for what he's done. And I demand that the government arrest Arnie Gunnarsson and put him in jail or sentence him to death by lethal injection for what he has done to our planet by disarming the population with these incredible, despicable lies.
A rare look inside.
My apologies. And
the damaged nuclear plant in Fukushima, Japan. Nearly 3 years after the earthquake and tsunami, the plant is still emitting radiation and likely will be for years. Seth Doane went inside to see the painstaking cleanup.
This is what TEPCO wants us to see, the heart of the decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4.
so he's pretending that he's in the building to the right, 100 feet above the wreckage. And by doing that, he did, because this was on public television, major medias worldwide, you disarmed the population. So if you had said to the population, we need solutions, we probably would have come up with a lot of solutions. But because they never gave the population a chance to come up with a solution, then they have doomed the entire planet. There should be a very harsh penalty for doing that. Oh boy, everything is so loud. Just bear with me. I gotta go and check my audio. Oh, I had my audio on the inside notched up a bit for some recordings. I forgot to return it, so my apologies for anybody. Okay, so this person is a TEPCO spokesperson. He's at a press club in the United States. He has the press sitting there, and he's going to tell the press that the building doesn't look like that, but it looks like this. I think he should get the death penalty for what he's doing.
And Fukushima Daiichi stage, right after the accident, it was of course the emergency condition. But right now, gradually became the decommissioning stage, more stable decommissioning stage. And that's that, as I mentioned, the successful completion of the dismantle of the spent fuel from the Unit 4. It's about 1533 bundle from the Unit 4. And we carefully manipulate the machine and successfully remove those fuel to the ground located pool.
Yeah, he should be fed to hyenas. So the claim that it looks like that is despicable. It's unbelievably despicable when it actually looks like the building to your left. The evidence we got is incontestable. It's undeniable. I'm terrified to click on videos till I readjust the audio because
He runs an unprecedented decommissioning project that will
Miles
not be done
O'Brien.
for decades. To see it firsthand, we had to suit up.
And then, like scuba diving.
We must also wear a full face mask.
Did you hear that? Like scuba diving.
And respirator for good measure. Resembling astronauts on the way to...
Calling himself astronauts. Now this is Miles O'Brien. And we call him the one-armed bandit. He was down there. He actually lost his arm. he didn't get surgery in Japan, and he didn't tell anybody what happened to him. He flew to the Philippines. And then a week and a half after, it came out that he had lost his arm. I say the Yakuza caught him with a secret camera, and they actually hacked his arm off. Otherwise, why wouldn't he go to a Japanese hospital? He's there, right? I have other videos of him. We have headlines of him.
A fully fueled rocket. We donned special shoes and hard hats, then boarded.
Now, dressed as astronauts with special shoes. Does that look like special shoes to anybody?
We donned special shoes and hard hats.
And hard hats.
Then boarded a bus that would get us as close to the meltdowns as the laws of physics.
As the laws of physics.
And common sense would allow us. The long-term solution here is to remove and secure the nuclear fuel. At Unit 4, they have begun that process. This reactor was shut down for maintenance when the tsunami hit.
So now he's claiming, because you heard him say, get as close to the meltdowns as possible. Now he's claiming he's inside the building. Again, these people are the very essence of
when the tsunami hit, and so the fuel had been moved into this storage pool. Even though the reactor was not running, during the worst of the crisis, hydrogen gas accumulated in the reactor buildings, causing a series of explosions.
Turn your hands over.
Before we left, they carefully scanned all of us and checked the dosimeters that we carried along the way. During our 4.5-hour tour, we absorbed as much radiation as we would have in a single chest X-ray.
Again, like Miles O'Brien and Seth Doane claims is like an X-ray. They should be sentenced to death by X-rays. There's Rupert Wingfield-Hayes.
So this is really why we've been brought here. Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4. The whole of this building was blown apart by a huge explosion after the tsunami disaster. But down inside this pool behind me here is still a vast amount of nuclear fuel.
Now look how high he is above the fuel pool. I mean, really, look how high he is above a pool that actually doesn't even exist. So he's at the very, very top of a building that doesn't even exist. Bear with me, I'll find a depiction for you. Maybe I won't. Hang on. You got to realize how much we go through here. So the fuel pool are those reds. So for him, that's not the one I wanted to do. This one here. For him to claim that he's way above the fuel pool, look how high up he is. What a horrific, disgusting thing to do. So he's claiming he's almost at the roof of that building over there, looking down on that fuel pool or that one over there. Here's Helen Caldicott, who's done this interview hundreds of times, claiming that Reactor 4 fuel pool was intact.
Building 4 is also similarly fragile, and it's got a huge cooling pool on top with all its fuel rods, but they have been removing them. And it's been a very delicate procedure, and they've removed almost all. So if that collapsed now, I think it would probably be okay.
She's done that hundreds of times, folks. And she has a big following. She wrote 14 books on anti-nuclear. Here she is trying to justify, claiming it doesn't look like this, but it actually looks like that because the Japanese are really tidy people.
Let me ask you this. You've said that if the spent fuel pool in number 4 collapses, that you would evacuate your family from Boston. Do you think we would ever know the truth of what's going on there? And the reason I ask is because we've seen coverage in the national news media here in the United States from ABC News and others that take video cameras in, saying that they're being given exclusive access to number 4 in the removal of the fuel rods, which is said to have begun. And what we see in the video being shared here in America is a pristine interior building. It doesn't look like a building in which the top blew off in a hydrogen explosion.
The Japanese are very tidy people, and they have, by robot control and by human beings, removed the debris from the top of Building 4, and it does look pristine.
So Helen Caldicott claiming that
the Japanese are very tidy people, and they have, by robot control and by human beings, removed the debris from the top of Building 4, and it does look pristine.
Sorry, I got 2 Danas in that shot.
Now, the division I ran built nuclear fuel racks for boiling water reactors exactly like Fukushima.
So how does he not know that the building looks like this and doesn't look like that? How can we have a future by sitting in silence? Now here's ABC Cecilia Vega. Look how high she is, looking way down on the fuel pool, which means that she has to be at the very top of the building to look down on the pool. She has to be at the very top of the building over there that doesn't exist to look down on the pool that doesn't exist. Let's play that clip. These are serial murderers. These are the worst of the worst humans in history. These are supposed to be journalists. This is not what they're supposed to do.
1,500 highly radioactive fuel rods inside this pool. They've got to move them outside of this reactor into a safer location.
I mean, my goodness. There's so many lawyers, you actually can't even keep up with it. Here's Seth Doane looking down on the pool.
A rare look inside the damaged nuclear plant in Fukushima, Japan.
This is what TEPCO wants us to see, the heart of the decommissioning work taking place here in Reactor 4.
Taking place now. I'll go back a bit. And when you talk through those masks, you don't sound like that, by the way.
Reactor 4 was not in use, but that explosion sent debris and chunks of concrete into this pool where the nuclear fuel was being stored.
We were able to watch the delicate and dangerous work of removing some of the 1,500 radioactive fuel rod assemblies.
It's not acceptable. This is not what journalists are supposed to do. This is what evil does. This is what monsters do. This is what demonic demons do. It's unacceptable no matter how you look at it. Now, this is Rupert Wingfield-Hayes again, pretending. Let me go ahead for you. Now, that's Reactor 3 blowing up. This is the moment Reactor 3 blows up. You're actually looking at the reactor core and the fuel pool falling back down to the earth. It was a wreck and mangled. 8 years on, a new structure has been built over the reactor. And again, this is faked So they're suiting up to go into the building. Now let me play this part of the clip for you. I'll double check the audio, which is a good thing because that was on full button there.
This is very strange to be standing inside here because this huge
I'll play that again.
I'm
Hang on.
standing inside is right on top of. This is very strange to be standing inside here because this huge structure I'm standing inside is right on top of reactor building number 3. And down underneath me here is the melted reactor core inside this building. Over the top here they have built a shield to lower the radiation levels so that we can come up here, so that workers can come up here to construct this. But radiation levels are still very high here, and because of that we can only spend a few minutes here. Now if you come over here, there's my alarm going off.
So this is an actual demon.
This is the spent fuel pool down inside here.
Now he's looking down on a fuel pool. I'm just going to cut the video right there for a second. Here's what Reactor 3 actually looks like. It doesn't even exist.
Here are more than 560 spent fuel assemblies.
Now the reactors actually hold 800 assemblies. The claim to fuel pools, there's 2 of them, by the way, at the top of these buildings. They don't have a repository. And so a huge amount of the fuel is stored in the actual pools. By the way, it's still splitting the atom. Well, these are not because they don't exist anymore. They are still splitting the atom, but it's all over the world. And so what he was doing was trying to downplay the amount of fuel assemblies in the building that doesn't even exist anymore. Each building had around 3,400 assemblies. So I show you these particular for, because I can show you a lot more. Like I already showed you Miles O'Brien. There's many of these I can show you, but I'm not obviously for nuclear companies infiltrated the universities. Well, they've taken over the universities. They captured the universities, captured the regulatory agencies. This is an interesting here. The Nuclear Regulatory Committee, Freedom of Information. Libya war news should now downgrade Fukushima. What do you mean by that is displaced Fukushima from the news cycle. Fukushima gives radiation meters to pregnant women and children rather than evacuate them. This is what I mean, like what Miles O'Brien and Cecilia Vega and Anna Coren and Rupert Wingfield-Hayes has accomplished is they disarmed the population of the entire planet. First, from coming up with solutions. Second, from protecting themselves and making informed decisions. And third, the very essence of what journalism is. Because of what they've done and because the universities have never spoken out to hold them accountable, then all journalists should be put into the same category as people that have no right to breathe the same air as the rest of us. They have abrogated their responsibility by betraying us. The documentation that is available is overwhelming.
Not near Baghdad. Don't believe them. They are nowhere. This is silly.
They are all your journalists are Baghdad Bobs. This was a video I put together years ago. You probably can't see what's going on there. But it's terrible. Nearly 5,000 nuke plant workers are suffering internal radiation exposure. But the journalist could get on top of all the buildings and have no adverse side effects. Is a remarkable thing. But the buildings obviously don't even exist. Arnie Gunnarsson, Helen Caldecott, and Megat Gunnarsson, his wife. Incredible betrayal, inconceivable betrayal. In reality, Xenon-133, for instance, is just one of the many isotopes, was 450,000 times above detection levels and persisted for weeks. This is a staggering amount of radiation covering the northern hemisphere. I'll show you some of these depictions. I apologize, it's not one of my best nights. Here we go. This one from France I'm going to show you, of the radioactive fallout. You see the numbers, 450,000 times in Washington. It had to be symmetrical. This is a 16-day model from France, major institution. And as you can see, the whole planet is covered in radioactive fallout. The entire planet. And we never had a chance to protect ourselves because our media murdered us. You are getting sick and dying because of this. Your children and your friends and your family, many have died over the last 11 years because of this incredible deception. That's the back of Reactor 4. You actually won't see that picture anywhere else. And so they faked Reactor 3 and faked Reactor 4. Is that why we have journalists? Is that why we have media? Is that acceptable under any circumstance to do that to us? To pretend that they're in a building and that the building is perfectly intact. How does that become acceptable? Again, you see these stupid pictures of people in perfect paper suits allegedly stood up alongside of multiple nuclear meltdowns with no adverse side effects. And your media comes out and actually takes it to a whole different level. How is that acceptable? How can you have a future? Because you can't have a future until you admit you got a problem. You got to admit that you got a problem. Everything I'm showing you, you can take it to court and win. I'm giving you so much documentation, it's impossible not to win. Here's the original 2013 media. This is physics.org lying to you. When the building actually is destroyed. This is CNN to your left lying to you when it actually looks like the building to the right. It's horrific. This is the world nuclear news stabbing you and your loved ones and your children in the face and in the back. This is RT, for goodness sakes, question more, lying to you. And there's so many of them who've done it to you. The problem is you are in real danger. Here's another story from 2013 with Mari Yamaguchi, one of the biggest liars in human history. 1,000 tanks in 2013. 1,000 tanks in 2022. So how many tanks did you fill up in the last 9 years? But in that same story, look at all the media, allegedly in 2013, at the spent fuel pools inside of the building housing the Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi plant. Look at all the journalists stabbing you in the back. Look at all the journalists murdering your loved ones and your friends and your family. Look at Arnie Gunnarsson and Megat Gunnarsson murdering you, lying to you, deceiving you, disarming you from protecting yourself and making informed decisions. Why are they so friggin' evil? Why do they hate us so much? Why do they despise us so much? Why are they doing everything in their power to destroy humanity? Why are you sitting in silence and letting them do that to us? I'm not. It's not very hard to tell the truth. In fact, it's liberating to tell the truth. It's a breath of fresh air to tell the truth. Telling the truth is easy. The building looks like the one to the right, not the one to the left. And both of those are the official pictures. To claim it's a hoax when the building doesn't exist, the betrayal is just staggering. It's inconceivable. Fukushima worst case, beyond 250 kilometers could be an evacuation zone if the fuel in the spent fuel pools of number 4 melts. Well, the fuel in number 4 melted. And so Tokyo is in that 250 kilometer zone. So they have poisoned like billions of people. But certainly everybody in Tokyo, 36 million people, those people stopped them from making informed decisions. The nuclear industry is humanity and 8 million species' worst enemy. What they done is undeniable. The evidence is overwhelming. We should at least start here and hold the people that came out publicly and deceived you accountable. It's never too late. If someone murdered your loved one and 11 years later you found out who they were, would you not want them held accountable? Because don't tell me you wouldn't. Because if you do, you're a lawyer. Worst case was evacuation of 250 kilometers if the spent fuel pool at number 4 melted, and it did. Evil, disgusting, despicable, murderous, traitorous nuclear industry. Hideous, monstrous, traitorous nuclear industry. I can't forgive and I can't forget. I can't sit in silence. And despite being sick tonight, I still can't sit in silence. This was a few pictures from 736 pictures that were released in January of 2021. These were from a drone. These were very high quality pictures. But when I zoomed in on the pictures, what I discovered, and nobody else has, was that all the reactors are redacted. Not only that, that's the spent fuel pool building with at least 10 million pounds. That's redacted completely. Look how it's grayed out completely on the top, and everything is redacted around it. This is Reactor 4 redacted, Reactor 3 redacted. I think somebody was trying to warn you. That's Reactor 4 redacted. That's the common spent fuel pool. Why is that redacted? That was actually on ground level. The tsunami ran right through it, which meant it would have melted down and detonated. Why is it redacted? And for context, that's transport truck containers in the background up there. So we're, we've been at this since this happened. I've been at nuclear long before Fukushima. I've worked 7 days a week, 365 days a year, year after year after year, to bring you the truth and to try to find a way forward for the species and the planet and your friends and your families and your loved ones. And I've been under siege. I've been assaulted. I've been attacked. I've been arrested. I've been vilified, demonized for telling the truth. I'm not a bad person. I didn't deserve any of that. They had no right to do that to me. They done that to me because nobody else was running a actual presentation program with the documentation that terrified them, that a single person was having a conversation. And you can see how much I'm censored. Look at how many people are on my show tonight. We have 32 people on my show. On the most important topic in human history. 32 people. At 42 likes. That's censorship, by the way. The poll is doing good. 55 votes. I work like a dog every day. I'm underfunded on a scale that's unimaginable, but we still never give up. We still never stop. If I was actually funded by a foundation, I could wreck this industry in less than 1 year. I would put together a team, and we would wreck this industry in less than 1 year. I guarantee it to you. $220 million atoms per liter. So the insects, the birds, the animals, the mammals, the humans, thyroid glands are incredibly saturated. And what that means is that your thyroid glands converts that into radioactive hormones. Because the radioactive iodine is similar to potassium in the way your body treats it. It's got nothing to do with potassium, but your body utilizes it the same way as with potassium, so it sequesters in your muscles and your organs. But also, particularly in your thyroid gland, where it's mutate into radioactive hormones. So that's why you see the insects decimation, the birds decimations, the animals, and humanity with incredible illnesses and diseases and autoimmune deficiencies and injuries and illnesses have skyrocketed. The homeless are recruited to clean up the Fukushima nuclear disaster zone. Not academics, not nuclear companies, not nuclear universities. Everybody should hang their head in shame because of that. Some spent fuel rods at Fukushima were damaged before 2011. TEPCO says the damaged assemblies, 4.5 meters high, racks, which is 12-foot racks actually, containing 50 to 70 rods of highly radiated used fuel can't be removed from the number 4 using the large cast. Well, of course, the pools don't even exist. Despite what Anna Coren says, the building to the left, the fuel pools physically don't exist. The pump truck can't pump water, by the way. They built that to deceive you and lie to you and disarm you and stop you from coming up with solutions and stop you from saving yourselves and the planet. You are in real danger. You have to get educated and you have to fight back. You have to find a way to fight back. And the best way to fight back is to hold them accountable. You can fight back by holding the 4 monsters that I identified for you and Miles O'Brien. That's the beginning of fighting back. That's a wonderful way to fight back. At least drag them into court and expose them for what they've done. That's the moral and ethical thing to do. That's the right thing to do. That's one of the most important things we got to get done. Like I say, if I was funded by a foundation, I would have litigated these people a long time ago. And many of them. In fact, I can think of several thousand that I would litigate if I had the ability to go after them. I would send them, I would get rid of the degree and I would try to get them prosecuted and put in jail for what they're doing. That will expose the whole big, despicable, disgusting betrayal. I beg the planet to give me the opportunity. I've worked tirelessly and endlessly, every single day, to bring closure, to bring a future to this planet and the species. And I won't be denied. And what I decided to do was educate the population so that no matter what happens, there's enough people out there who understands the entire story, that the war against deception, deceit, and dishonesty can continue. To portray this and pretend that it's actually the destroyed building is incredibly evil. It's insidiously and monstrously evil. Help wanted in Fukushima, low pay, high risk. They were making an average of $11 a day for working the most dangerous job in human history. And they were being murdered. This is not a job you walk away from without getting sick. It's impossible to go there without getting sick or terminally sick. We owe it to the victims. This is not a victimless crime. Everybody is a victim because of this evil, monstrous, insidious betrayal against our planet and our biosphere. Why are we sitting in silence? How is it that everybody got an opinion except for Fukushima? Why is everybody afraid to speak about Fukushima? I provide so much documentation. It's an absurd amount of documentation. It's unprecedented. It exists nowhere else on the planet. I have amassed an endless amount of documentation. And I add to that by about 600 pieces of information daily. Every day, 7 days a week. It's a relentless pace, and I have no way of stopping. I am not allowed to slow down, and I'm not allowed to stop until the world comes to its senses. These are lethal doses if you actually stand up there in your stupid paper suits. Your idiotic paper suits can't protect you from multiple nuclear meltdowns. We concentrated on Reactor 4 tonight, but there's 4 of these buildings. How can anybody claim that there's something functional inside of that when it actually looks like this and that the guts is hanging out of it? How can journalists be so cruel to fake that and pretend that that's not what it looked like? How can humans be that cruel to do that for a paycheck? How can you be that evil? How do you get that disconnected? How do you get that evil? How do you become that monstrous? Why do that? They gotta be held accountable. There's no middle ground. There's no way forward without the truth. Total destruction, and then they pretend that everything is hunky-dory. When in reality, the whole planet got covered in radioactive fallout, and the only way forward is to come up with solutions. It's never too late to come up with solutions. And so what are we waiting for? Why not come up with solutions? Why not sacrifice every nuclear scientist on the planet if that's what it takes? Because that's what it takes. Enormous amount of plutonium in number 4 spent fuel pool in danger of catching fire. Well, it caught fire and it blew up and it don't exist anymore. Stop lying. Pyrophoric fire may have already occurred. Of course, it not may have already occurred, it did occur. Nuclear fuel rods number 4 spent fuel pool are confirmed to be damaged. First time revealed at any pool. Again, within 5 days, all fuel pools were detonated and were gone or were melting down. Unit 4 had a major impulsive sound and damage to the roof on March the 14th. Fire was seen hours later, then again the next day. March the 14th. 100% release of Unit 4 spent fuel pool assumed in the nuclear regulatory. Now they're claiming that there's no releases. Did the Fukushima Daiichi catch fire today? Reactor 4 had one explosion and 2 fires in March 2011. Explosions heard near the heavily damaged number 4 reactor. Radiation is streaming into the atmosphere after number 4 pool boiled dry. So we got more than enough evidence to convict Rupert Wingfield-Hayes from BBC, Seth Doane from CBS, Cecilia Vega from Australia's ABC, who's now a correspondent at the White House, and Coren from CNN, and Miles O'Brien from PBS. I got so much evidence that we're just going to end it here. The walls of Unit 4 spent fuel pool have collapsed. There is no water, which meant, and that's the NRC email, redacted, mind you. That's March the 16th. To show you anything to confuse you. Right? BBC showing you a beautiful pool in 2013 when the building doesn't even exist. World Nuclear News, we expect them to stab us in the throat. Informative shows you a fake pool. Now I put these pictures here. Originally we were trying to figure out whether this was real or not, but it's not. Because this was supposed to be a Reactor 4, but it's actually not. We know now. And that's obviously not Reactor 4. CBC Canada stabbed everybody in Canada. Of course, Canada lifted all restrictions on radioactive food from the nuclear wasteland, while every other country banned it. But here's what we got to do, is we got to at least hold the monsters. That's the beginning, because we got them dead to right as lawyers. And the world will wake up if we expose that. Hi, everybody. That's not my best show, but it's done. These people are monsters. These are mass murderers and serial killers. And everybody should work hard to get them prosecuted for what they've done. If we had a celebrity, an actor, if we had a football, a sports star, a musician that tweeted out, or Greenpeace, that I sent this picture to hundreds of times through Twitter, we should all start tweeting the picture to Elon Musk. We are not going away. We are not giving up. We are not slowing down. And we are going to be relentless. We want accountability. We want these people prosecuted for crimes against humanity. These are monsters. These are murderers. And I swear on my life that they will be held accountable at some point in the future. There is no maybes about it. We will hold these disgusting, despicable cowards accountable for slaughtering our planet and our species. You're revolting, disgusting parasites. I don't know about you, but I feel a bit better. Not really. I'm going back to bed. Good night, everybody. Kevin Blanche, hugs for Kevin Blanche. Hi, Kevin. Richard, Darlene called me or sent me text messages. That's the only reason we're doing the show tonight. Thanks, Darlene. It's all good, honey. Don't worry about it. Dana Nasana, thank you, Dana, again, for everything you've done for this whole operation. And for moderating, of course. Timber, John Curtis, Thinker, Richard, Albert, hi Albert, Philip Wan. Good night, everybody. James Lucid, hi James. James got a Saved Whale Banned Nuclear Power Plant shirt, I think. Because, like, when you order a shirt from my merchandise shop, I know the shirt that you ordered, or cup or glasses or handbag or backpack or whatever. I just don't know the size or anything like that, and I don't know addresses or anything like that. Because I don't have anything to do with the shipping, I don't have anything to do with the money. They give me a chunk of the earnings. Not that I don't even care about that. So a lot of my shirts are no profit for me whatsoever, because it's great to get the conversation started. And hopefully in the future, lots of people are buying it, and that helps fund the operation. But I'd rather have the conversation start, see? It means a lot to me when people buy my shirts, because it means you're going to get into conversations, whether you like it or not. And it opens it's not you talking, it's them asking, see? That's the beauty of the shirts. And you got to go through all of my shirts before you make up your mind that which one you're going to buy, because there's actually a lot going on there. And so don't, because if you keep scrolling down my page, it gives you more shirts and mugs and glasses and stuff, towels with pictures and stuff on it. So, there's a big diversity there on top of that. And there's no mistake in the message on my shirts. It's guaranteed to invite a conversation. And then if you got somebody who won't have a conversation with you about it, order them a shirt or a mug or a glass. Because that'll break the barriers. It becomes more real that way, right? Adrian Johnson. $2.39 Giant. Hi, Joe. Joe's awesome. It's a tough subject for people, unfortunately. Chet Austin. Hello Kitty dosimeters. That's hilarious, James. I actually want to design that one. Hello Kitty dosimeters. Pokemon dosimeters, right? You can get a whole list of them now, I think, because I never thought about that. That's a great idea. It's hilarious. Steve White, John Curtis, Christian Boyce. Hi, everybody. Try not to miss anybody. Mr. Finnegan. Another Gmail. I'm almost up through the names here. What color it quits after. I put scripture in this in a timeout because he was spamming us. You gotta stay on topic. I don't mind people coming in and having other messages, but you gotta add to the debate, otherwise you become an official distraction. If you're not going to be part of the conversation, then you're part of the problem, see? Obsolete optics. And anybody I missed, my apologies. Come down to the most recent comments. Annie Archie. Hi Annie, thank you. Mutant Botanical Garden. Colette S. I was just going to give Colette a shout out because I know she watches the show later typically. Thank you, Colette. So that was kind of funny because I was just about to say, I know Colette's out there somewhere, and then I seen her name there. Stephen Young is out there somewhere. Swanee D is out there somewhere tomorrow. And anybody I forget, my apologies. Looks like I got everybody. We're going to close down the poll. Let's one more look at the poll. I almost forgot to close the poll. We got 59 votes. It's almost 100% that it was evil for journalists to fake the videos of being on top of the building that don't exist, Fukushima Reactor 4. And yes, they should get life in jail. Unequivocally, they should get life in jail. And I'm going to be centrist. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, folks, if you're watching this later. There we go. The show is officially over. Buy Dana's merchandise and send it to the International Atomic Energy Agency. That's hilarious. Thanks, James. I love it, man. That'd be so funny. Colette says she got 4 whale t-shirts so far. Wow. Because they're fantastic, eh? For starting a conversation. So imagine how many conversations 4 t-shirts would start, see? That's why I say it's amazing. Because they really do get you into a conversation. Hello, kitty dosimeters. That'll be funny for a long time, that one, man. It's hilarious. Okay, well, let's call it a night. And Kevin Blanche says you'll hand deliver them. Zach Holland, DCA, that's right. DCA, if you're not familiar with that, that's a cure for cancer, 100% of the time. It's banned in Canada. And you can order it from Amazon.com, not .ca, but .com. They will ship to Canada, some of these. See there, ships to Canada. So you can order in the DCA, and you should take it as a preventive. Just a single bottle in increments over a month or two. It's a little bit each day. And it eradicates cancer. It restores your blood on top of that. So it helps with all kinds of illnesses and diseases because that's rejuvenating you. It's just a mineral. You don't need a patent. There's no patent. There's no prescription for it. It's completely harmless. It's just a mineral. It's no different than vitamin C or vitamin D. It's absolutely a wonderful thing. I remind people, there's links at the bottom of my description. We do need people to donate. We got the trailer for the bike. We got the trailer for the bike. Or the lift for the, what do you call it? A carrier for the bike. Let's just bring that up one more time. We got to raise money to complete that. So that little carrier, I need to beef it up. I need to get it dropped down so it fits on the back. So it lowers down. Hang on. I got to do modifications on it, and we got welding done to it. We got to get it beefed up a little bit. We got to make the ramp a bit longer, and I got to drop it down 4 or 5 inches. And you can't buy that. I'm going to have to get it fabricated. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we can get on top of this and raise the money. And it's going to cost several $100s to get that, or more, to get it modified. But it'll allow me to stick the bike on the back of the truck, and instead of towing around a 1,500-pound trailer, and trying to drive, what I discovered was trying to drive the bike up on the trailer, because my trailer is pretty high. It's 16 feet by 8 feet, but it's up so high, it's actually really dangerous. And it's also really heavy to tow around. It's very expensive to tow it around, because the price of fuel now has gone nuts. That's the solution. So I bought that this week, but it needs modifications to work. And just another part of the problem, right? It's all good. Okay, well, let's call it a night, because you know me. So we're going to pull off a show for tomorrow night. Will be 5 shows in a row, so that'll be pretty cool if we can pull that off tomorrow night. I was definitely burnt out tonight, not feeling good at all since around supper time. Don't matter. And Provoke, hi Provoke, everybody. Yeah, well, let me see if I can find one more little clip. Hang on. I'm not going to say nothing because I might not find it. Just hang on here 1 second. Yeah, here it is, Kevin Blanche. Here's a clip of Kevin Blanche. I can't remember what country this is in.
Here we go. Here we go.
No more killing people for money. No more killing
Here's your
people
couple
for
of your
money.
big IAEA boards right here. These are your kingpins right here.
Cancer for people.
IAEA are mass murderers. They killed the Pacific Ocean.
Cracks me up.
Thanks for giving me leukemia. The IAEA are mass murderers. Mass murders, the IAEA. What happens when you get cancer? What happens when you get it? What happens when you give yourself cancer? We'll keep these going. Stay untuned.
God bless. Hugs for everybody. See everybody tomorrow night. Have a great night. Hi, Warren. Hey, have a great night and a great day tomorrow, folks. We'll see everybody soon. Andrew, pretty quick. Good night, everybody. We'll see everybody tomorrow night. Have a great day. Yep, Port Angeles. Looks like I got everybody. Warren, Andrew, pretty quick. And everybody, have a great night, folks. Take care.